3rd. On the night of April 18, 1912, New York City was paralyzed. 30,000 people stood in the pouring rain at Pier 54. They weren't there for a parade. They were there to witness a funeral procession of the living. They were waiting for a ship called the Carpathia. On board were the 705 survivors of the Titanic. But for the 3 days leading up to this moment, America had been in a state of chaos, confusion, and denial. Newspapers had reported that everyone was safe. Rich families held out hope. Villas, the world simply couldn't believe that the unsinkable ship was gone. While the sinking of the Titanic is a British tragedy, the reaction to it is a distinctly American story. It involves a media circus, a villain who survived, and a Senate investigation that changed maritime laws forever. Today, we look at what happened after the ship went down. This is the story of America in the shadow of the Titanic. To understand the shock, you have to understand the news cycle of 1912. There was no Twitter, no CNN. There was only the wireless telegraph. When the Titanic hit the iceberg on April 14th, the distress signals were picked up by other ships. But the signals were weak and traveled through a game of telephone. By the time the news hit New York on April 15th, it was garbled. The Virginian Pilot newspaper ran a headline: "Titanic sinks. No lives lost." The Evening Sun headline read, "All saved from Titanic after collision." New York breathed a sigh of relief. People went to work thinking the ship was damaged, but towing into port. But by the afternoon of April 15th, the silence from the ocean became deafening. The White Star Line offices in New York were besieged by reporters. Finally, at 6:15 p.m., a terrifying message came through from the rescue ship Carpathia. Titanic went down. Mostly women and children saved. The optimism shattered. The reality of 1,500 deaths hit America like a physical blow. 3 days later, on the rainy night of April 18th, the Carpathia arrived in New York Harbor. The atmosphere was intense. Police had to hold back crowds of 40,000 people. Tugs and private boats swarmed the harbor, with reporters shouting through megaphones, offering money to survivors for their stories before they even touched land. When the ship docked, silence fell over the crowd. First came the lifeboats of the Titanic, lifted off the Carpathia. They were empty, haunting symbols of the disaster. Then, the survivors disembarked. The American reaction was immediately divided by class. The wealthy survivors like the Astors and the Guggenheims were whisked away in private limousines to luxury hotels. The immigrants in third class were checked by immigration officers and sent to hospitals or hostels. Even in tragedy, money spoke. But amidst the sorrow, the American public found someone to focus their anger on. They needed a villain. Enter J. Bruce Ismay, who was the chairman of the White Star Line, the company that built the Titanic, and he was on the ship. While 1,500 people, including women, children, and the ship's architect Thomas Andrews, died. Bruce Ismay stepped into a lifeboat and survived. He stepped off the Carpathia in New York. The American press destroyed him. The media tycoon William Randolph Hearst launched a brutal campaign against him. Newspapers called him J. Brute Ismay and the coward of the Titanic. Americans asked a simple, furious question. Why did the owner of the ship survive when his passengers died? Ismay was so hated in America that he became a symbol of corporate greed and cowardice. He claimed he only got in the boat because there were no other women around, but America didn't buy it. He was effectively held prisoner in New York. The United States didn't wait for the British to investigate. They wanted answers immediately. The very next morning, Senator William Alden Smith launched a Senate inquiry at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. He subpoenaed Ismay and the surviving crew. He forced them to testify before they could leave the country. The British press mocked Senator Smith, D. They called him a backwoods politician because he asked basic questions like, What are icebergs made of? But Smith was smart. He knew he was speaking to the common people, not the experts. He asked the hard questions that the British inquiry tried to avoid. Why were there only 20 lifeboats for 2,200 people? Why did the ship speed up through an ice field? Why were the binoculars missing from the crow's nest? This American inquiry revealed the shocking truth. The Titanic wasn't just an accident. It was a result of arrogance. The investigation revealed something else that made Americans furious. There was another ship, the SS Californian, sitting just 10 miles away from the Titanic while it sank. They had stopped for the night because of the ice. Crew members on the Californian saw white rockets exploding in the sky Titanic's distress signals. They told their captain, Stanley Lord. But Captain Lord didn't wake up the wireless operator. He didn't move the ship. He thought it was just the Titanic having a party. The US Senate report ripped Captain Lord apart. It concluded that if the Californian had responded, they could have saved everyone. 2. This revelation turned the tragedy into a tale of missed opportunities and deadly negligence. The American outcry forced the world to change. Because of the Senate inquiry held in New York, maritime laws were rewritten overnight. Lifeboats. Every ship must now carry enough lifeboats for every single person on board. No exceptions. 24/7 radio. Wireless radios must be manned 24 hours a day. On the Titanic, the nearby ship's radio operator had gone to sleep just minutes before the crash. International Ice Patrol. A dedicated patrol was formed to track icebergs in the Atlantica patrol that still operates today. The tragedy ended the era of laissez-faire sailing. It proved that nature was still stronger than technology. The sinking of the Titanic broke the heart of the world, but the American reaction fixed the system. The anger, the media frenzy, and the aggressive investigation in New York ensured that those 1,500 people didn't die in vain. When the survivors finally left New York, they left behind a changed country. The age of innocence was over. The 20th century, with all its technological hubris and horror, had truly begun. What do you think? Was Bruce Ismay a villain, or just a man trying to survive? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this different perspective on history, please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.